been wanting to do a space mercenary film basically since we started making films, and we'd incorporated a lot of that into our Star Wars fan films that we made many years ago. There was a Star Wars fan film that we were planning on making in 2001. It was only ever referred to as Effects Project 2. And there were a lot of things going on in there that kind of made it into one of the drafts of Omega 35. And if you look at stuff like Under the Gun, which was done in '03, like the opening logo for that shows things, as well as other films, that were hinting at what would eventually become and go into Omega 35. It was summer 2004 when we were still working on Evasive Maneuvers that we thought of a sci-fi film that starred a bounty hunter who goes to kill an old guy on a desert planet. And we thought that we would do something like that for a senior thesis film. And then it was the summer of '05 when we conceptualized what became Omega 35. And the main difference then at that point was there was supposed to be a team of 4 characters who were on that ship. 2 of them would die off, leaving Vegas and Evie. So the plan was that we would start working on it in summer of 2006, as we were still finishing up Another Way Home and Equal Justice. Now the last thing we wanted to do was write the goddamn thing, so we gave it to Matt London. Matt London is, of course, the creator of the epic sci-fi property The Guardians.
I got a call from them, and they said, okay, we want a sci-fi movie with 2 people that fuck, and we want a jailbreak and a dogfight in space and a big explosion at the end. Can you do that? And I said, yeah, I can do that.
At the beginning of that summer, we also made a trailer for Maddox, which was a previously abandoned concept that we were going to do with Drew Lindo. And there were a lot of design elements and even shots and definitely locations that were kind of, the way we were doing them was R&D for Omega 35.
And so I submitted my first draft to them after a few days, and they quickly got back to me and said, this sucks, do it again. So I did, and they got back to me and said, this sucks, do it again. So I did it again, and I got back to them a 3rd time. And they said, well, this was pretty good, but we're going to take it and change all of it anyway.
We designed all the ships and all the environments to be very, very dirty and to be made up of modular components. And then we also wanted the star fields to not be just white stars on black. It was very important that they were very colorful and that they had texture to them.
There was a concentrated effort to recreate production design not dissimilar from Dan O'Bannon's work in the 1970s. I don't think any of us had really seen movies like Dark Star, but Alien was an obvious influence. And being familiar with the Stoleys, I figured the Great Movie Ride must have had at least a little bit of an impact on them in this production.
Now, we built a motif throughout the film of a circle getting intersected by a line or a small triangle. And you can see that a bunch of places along the film with the planets and moons. And even the Central Systems logo was kind of a mechanized, geometrized version of the circle with the line going through it.
I immediately thought that I should recommend that they check out any films from the 70s and 80s that would share similar tactile environments, both not only interior, but perhaps like when they got to their inevitable exterior production stuff like spaceships and designs and outer space and camera movements, that they'd be best take a look at as many of the Star Trek features, the early ones, and anything else that might have been handled by miniature designers and special effects photographers like Douglas Trumbull.
And we were all set to get all the CG done that summer before we even started shooting anything. But then we got stuck slaving away on Laurie Ingalls' untitled baby movie for that entire summer. I believe we were paid 1 peanut for that job, and we never recovered for all the work we should have gotten done on Omega 35. We did start building the sets though that summer. Basically, they're built out of mostly PVC pipe and cardboard, floppy disks, plastic cookie containers. We eventually did get a refrigerator out of a dumpster. Used that as one of the main pieces.
On screen, the sets actually look surprisingly good for, you know, being made on like probably about $15, and that $15 probably returned to Walmart anyway.
It was all really, really cheap. The entire budget for the film was just about $750.
A lot of it is just like, you know, like big barrels of pretzels, an old VCR, or like other random weird plastic things that their mother was going to throw away.
Our shoot was set for mid-October, and it was scheduled out for 6 days. And we had Jackie Herman all lined up ready to play Evie, but then the day we started shooting, when I saw her in the hallways of UCF, she didn't seem to know that we were shooting a movie with her that day, or ever. So we had to then scramble last minute to find a replacement for her.
Jackie apparently did not get numerous emails, voice messages, even MySpace messages after confirming the schedule. I showed her a schedule, she okayed it, that was weeks and weeks ago. And today she informs us that no, she can't.
Right now, this lady whose name I don't know is calling random actresses in hopes that one of them will have nothing to do for this weekend and decide to shoot a sci-fi movie. Because who wouldn't?
The schedule is based around building a set, tearing that same set down, and using those same set pieces to then build another set. So if we don't get the entire scene done, it's fucking ridiculous.
So finally, Ashley, the makeup girl, got a hold of Eliza. And we had never even met Eliza, let alone audition her. But at that point, as long as A, she had a vagina, and B, she was not a deaf mute, she had the part. The shoot was tremendously stressful. We didn't have enough time, didn't have enough crew, didn't have enough gear. The stage was really small, and we had lost almost an entire day because of the whole Jackie thing.
Hey James, what's the first shot number? I don't know!
What, you really have to get the shot list now?
Scene 823 C. Rolling. 10 Astromech, take 1.
And on the second day, James and I were on the soundstage for probably about 20 hours. We had to build and tear down 3 full sets.
I feel like when he tells you to do something, it's like me telling my hand to do something.
Well, Robert should have been able to do it, but he fucked up, so... Yeah, I fucked up. Ballast has power? I don't fucking know. I told you. You yelled at me so fucking much that I guess I fucking didn't do anything. It's your fucking fault. Mm-hmm. Alright. Alright, I'll put goddamn power to the fucking ballast. How do you like that? That fucking help you? I'll run it right over the fucking dolly track that's not set up yet. How about that? Robert, the track's not gonna be right over there. The fucking actors are, okay? And the actors are... That thing fell. No reason to paint your fucking tape now. What do you want me to do? The HMI ballast has to be moved. What do you want me to do? We're talking about the tape situation now. We have no black tape of any fucking kind. We have blue tape. We have purple tape that just fell. I don't know. Okay? I don't fucking know. So goddamn I thought all those lights were fucking broken anyway. Dude, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. You're Mr. Let's fucking do it all digital anyway. What's the issue here? You know what the fuck you're doing. Set the camera up. Set the fucking blue screen up. No, I don't know what I'm doing. I admit it. I don't know. You said something. You did bring up. Shut up. You did bring up something. We could use that as a background and probably forget about having the blue screen.
What kind of was the one saving grace and stroke of luck here was that Ray was invaluable because he was a stuntman, and we never really put any time into figuring out what the fight would be like, but luckily we didn't have to because he figured it all out and did it with Byron himself.
It's going to be like that. Yeah, without going down. Because, like, if the camera's right there and you're doing a knee and you come straight out of line, I'm going to go back before it hits me and you're going to see that space there.
Oh, okay.
So actually what you do, you go for, like, right here.
Right.
That's what's going to Right to there.
That's perfect. Boom.
Yeah. Scratch right here.
The lip kind of.
So basically, when you go up to it, I guess like do shit with it. I don't know. Just like, I mean, you're struggling with it. You're trying to basically convince yourself from this. You're trying to find a justification. You're kind of looking for that sort of, let's see, well, why is she not worth it? And you're trying to run through that in your head, and that's why you have the thing about bringing up the fact that she's going after this black market explosive that's probably going to end up killing innocent people, you know, somewhere down the line.
The flying saucers are there, and you want to kill them in this scene. Go, do it.
Hope he sees this.
Right, we're done.
Yeah. Here's James and Robert lifting heavy things while I watch.
Try not to
Not
look stupid when you're doing it, you know?
Maybe something big, but
Yeah. The other two shots didn't look good. I don't know why, and I don't know how we're gonna fix it, but obviously we will. Lighting's tremendously inconsistent anyway. It also looks like shit all the time. Not only does it tell me that, even though I didn't look through the camera, I could sense it.
It was never part of the plan to do any extensive blue screening in this movie. The orbital platform we thought maybe would be somehow incorporating sets or maybe shooting it on some maybe parking garage location, anything like that, but we just didn't have time to figure out how we would be shooting it. So we ended up having to do 1/3 of the entire film blue screen, and we just had to kind of throw the screens up there, and it was very poorly lit, and there were lots of wrinkles.
Bang, bang.
That was good.
Whatever, it's a full roto anyway, it's gonna be noisy, I'll just turn off another ball. Make the shot take another week. Remember the explosion over here, look
Back to
around,
that.
and then point with 2 guards over here to move over here. Alright. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, I'm not gonna check. Yeah, I almost got a soup kitchen on Thanksgiving. Think about that. That stuff out. Like that. Action!
Oh, turret, 20, go.
Rolling!
Roar!
Action. Whoa, the fuck was that? I did not expect. After principal photography, we had to hold off on Omega 35 until December because we had to shoot That's the Name of That Tune. Then in December, we started working on Omega 35 again, and we really never stopped after that. We probably worked about an average of 10 hours a day each, 7 days a week, every day between the beginning of December and the end of May. It's kind of a fun little game that we play occasionally, calculating if we were getting paid for our labor, how much money that would be. You don't need to be a magna cum laude, which I am, to figure out that that's a lot of simoleons. We basically have no memory to do anything. Like the main computer that we were doing this on is 5 years old, and it was obsolete at the time that we actually bought it. So not only having to render for thousands of hours, but we couldn't even load frames. So it would we'd be working completely blind, basically, because we couldn't see what we were doing. We couldn't even play the timeline in the video editor to see the cuts. We had to render everything out. And there was one time where I even cut audio completely deaf because I couldn't install the sound card, because last time I installed the sound card, the computer crashed and we had to reinstall Windows. And that was something that was happening all the time. We had at least 2 computers crashing every half hour. So the film was always intended to feel like an 80s sci-fi film. We shot it like an 80s sci-fi film. We designed it like an 80s sci-fi film. The music was 80s. And it seems that the extensive use of CG would go against that. But we tried everywhere we could through the use of blurring and sharpening and adding grain and the design of the lens flares and the fog that was added. We tried to make it feel like it was miniatures with optical composites as much as we could. I mean, we obviously failed, and it looks like shit anyway.
The way that they didn't photograph, they animated their starship sequences in a way that grounded the camera and created a sense of scale and believable movement that was inherent to the use of model effects in the 1970s and 1980s. And to see that in a believable way, even though they were using CGI, I really thought that was amazing.
We had 2 rounds of pickups and reshoots, one in January and another in March. It was much more relaxed than principal photography. We had really streamlined the whole process of how we put the sets up. We just sort of perfected that, and we had enough crew. We also had enough gear, and at the end of the shoot, we were able to go to Moe's Southwestern Grill with our $500 gift card of Moe money, which we had won in a video contest in October, and it was the culminating experience of my life.
Burrito in every hand.
I was on set for one day, and in that one day I had to operate a door.
All right, and door.
If the door closed on someone, it would have killed them.
Maybe I could be like a space slave.
Just walk by and back.
And I also took the still for I think maybe poster B or poster BA or teaser poster A or teaser poster BA.
Like this, so you gotta go down and come in. I don't know, just do something. We'll rehearse this move a couple times, or at least once, before dealing with the I wasn't really planning on rehearsing it at all.
Omega 35 was one of our capstones or senior thesis films at the University of Central Florida.
They make 2 movies, one that they usually care about and one that they just don't give a shit about. And of course, Omega 35 is the one that they, poured their heart into, and that sucks ass. Whereas that's the name of that tune. Tremendous. And they didn't put any effort in that one.
And we were going crazy to try to get a cut done for the end of April when we had to hand the movie in. And the faculty never took us seriously, never took the film seriously, because they basically thought it was just another little space movie.
Like the Distoles, I produced a film that semester that was very heavy on post-production effects. And so we had, both their production and mine, we had a lot of actors shot against green screen. The faculty were very unsettled by their inability to decide what it was we were doing wrong and how they might come down on us and prove to us how we were off track, and feel like they were basically getting us to jump through hoops for them.
And then they imposed a 15-minute limit for everything that screened at the end of the year. And because we didn't really have the time to worry about it, Brett Bonowitz was the one who was influential in cutting our 18-minute movie down to 15 minutes.
I did this all in one night in about 3.5 hours, and I am now the only person to ever have an editing credit on a Distoli Digital movie.
But in doing so, cutting out so much of the second act really did not help anyone's estimation that it was just another little stupid space movie.
Omega 35 was the space one, right?
Yeah, it's actually a love story that kind of happens to be set in outer space.
A student would shoot multiple locations with a set of actors, and you could get a general sense from their dailies how this material would cut together, and then the faculty and the students would be able to give advice.
You didn't have to show dailies, You didn't get torn apart. No, we're not going to show these dailies. The dailies that we show are going to be the ugliest looking, blue screen footage where, you don't actually see anything at all.
It wasn't quite clear what the vision was yet, because we were wasting time in the class trying to explain over and over again what our vision was to people who didn't care, when we could have been spending that time constructing a more complete version that would be able to be screened to the faculty.
We should just show them wireframe renderings of every single ship. We'll spend 20 minutes just going over every pass of every CG element. This is the specular daily. Right, yeah.
I would say the average response from the faculty when either of us screened our projects was, "Where's the rest of it?" or "Turn it off, please."
As is usual, we did not have a title for the longest time. We were just calling it Distoli Digital number 35.
Space Lasers, which I think would be a tremendous title for a Distoli Digital short. I mean, what an all-encompassing title. Space Lasers says everything, doesn't it?
It was later that we decided, why don't we just keep the 35 and use some sci-fi term in front of it.
What is this thing called, like Magnet 35?
And then I decided, why don't you just call it 35? Because movies that are just numbers for titles have been so tremendously successful, like 8.5, 10 with Bo Derek.
I would hesitate to say that making Omega 35 was the most painful experience of my life, because there was that one time where I had to wear a neck brace for 4 months. Then in the beginning of April, we were in a near-fatal car accident. Throughout the month of May, we just mopped up a few remaining shots and cut in the rest of the music.
They send me clips from other movies, and they say, copy this note for note, but maybe change a note or two, to not get in trouble with the law.
So then Omega 35 was completed on June 12, 2007.
Once I saw the score in the completed film, I did not recognize it at all. In fact, I'd forgotten I had written the music at all for the movie because they chopped it up so much that it was just incomprehensible, just garbles of notes that just gibberish.
When the production was largely complete, I was really taken aback by how successfully, again, they had managed to take elements, formal elements and effects elements of the films I'd recommended, including the Star Trek movies.
While the effects probably look the best they've ever been, the story still sucks shit.
When it's all said and done, I would say that making Omega 35 ensured that I will die of a stress-induced heart attack at the age of 35, instead of the already expected 40.